Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Unbelievable start for us with our first 5 games. I mean, it comes at you and you don't get to come up for air for a while. It's daunting, but at the same time, it's exciting.
Real happy with how we played. I thought our mindset was real good in practice coming into the game, and I thought we went out and played the game the right way.
And Happy New Year, everybody. 6 hours early. Welcome into Sports Talk as the countdown to the end of 2014 turns towards 2015. We are live from downtown Columbia, where there is a party going on Main Street, Columbia. Big New Year's Eve festivities. I think the OJs are performing in downtown Columbia tonight as part of the festivities and the countdown to the new year. Welcome to the program. Phil Kornbluth, the professor, Tom Hayes here. K-Mac is off tonight. Must be in his contract that he gets all major holidays off. Because it seems like he's never here for a major holiday.
If they got the OJ out there, this OJ is mixed with some Geritol. They've been out there a long time.
Steak Man Graham Pope here as well. Good to be with you on this New Year's Eve. We come to you live here from Columbia to bring you the latest because it was a big day for South Carolina. Brendan McElwain, who will join us here in just a few minutes, commits to South Carolina. Now, I've never seen the kid play in person. I've seen a little bit of video on him pro, just going by what people say. He could be South Carolina's version of Deshaun Watson, that special quarterback in the future that you can build your program around and expect to have quality offensive performances for the foreseeable future once he gets to South Carolina in January of 2016.
Well, part of me says, okay, well, that's exciting, but I love the guys who come in unassuming and they become great. Connor Shaw, this guy's too short. He can't do this. He fumbled the ball at East Carolina and Charlotte. Get him out of here. Put Garcia back in, and then suddenly, wait a minute. Oh, this is the guy. Now this guy comes in with tremendous expectations, and you hope the kid is level-headed enough to try not to live up to them, just play within himself.
Well, I think you'll find him to be pretty level-headed. I think he understands South Carolina football quite well. His father's a USC grad. Grandparents live in Irmo, has family in Greenville. He's been around South Carolina quite a bit. So he's not walking into something in a couple of years that he won't be familiar with. And he is compared to Connor Shaw. He is a guy that G.A. Mangus, much like Chad Morris did when he got to Clemson, and he went out and identified the quarterback he wanted. G.A. did that with Connor Shaw, and he did that with this kid as well as a freshman and has recruited him very hard ever since. And he got him today, and we'll talk to him. And we're back at Sports Talk across the state of South Carolina. Good to have you with us. Happy New Year from all of us here at Sports Talk. We are with you live tonight. We'll be live with you tomorrow night. Sports Talk never rests. We're here every night in some form or fashion, Monday through Friday. And we're glad you're with us as well. Big day for South Carolina football. You know, the fireworks are going to go off here at the State House at midnight. They've got a big to-do over here on Main Street, just a couple of blocks from us. But over at USC's football office, the fireworks went off earlier today, approximately 2 o'clock, when Brandon McElwain announced on Twitter that indeed he had picked the Gamecocks over several other major football programs. We welcome Brandon to Sports Talk 61205 out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. First of all, congratulations and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Appreciate you joining us tonight. And first of all, South Carolina, Penn State, Auburn, Florida, Duke, California, Virginia Tech, some of the schools that you considered down the stretch, you eventually settled on the Gamecocks. What were some of the factors that led you to pick South Carolina?
Yes, first, thank you for having me. And also, South Carolina has been a place that has really felt like home for me since the beginning. I mean, all throughout the whole recruiting process, I talked to Coach Mangus and Coach Spurrier, and they've been very truthful with me. Since they started recruiting me my freshman year, I'm the only quarterback that they offered in my class, and it made a very big impact on me that they would put the time and investment into me, and then just to make me feel like I'm the quarterback they really want. And then also obviously my family, with my grandma living in Irma, and then my uncle living in Greenville, and then some of my other family living around that area in the South. It just seemed like it was a perfect fit for me. And then also their offense. They have a great offense that fits how I play. I've seen kind of a couple years ago with Connor Shaw, with a quarterback that can pass and run. It just fit. In all aspects, it fit what I wanted in a school.
Take us back to your freshman year in high school and when G.A. Mangus first started to become involved with you as a recruiter. How did he find out about you? Was it somebody like your dad or somebody in your family that tipped him off, or because he recruits that area and he knows the Pennsylvania high school area quite well from his coaching days up there, did he already have some ideas about you and kind of knew about you coming up through the younger age football leagues?
My freshman year, my dad and also one of his coworkers sent my highlight tape to Coach Mangus, and he saw it and got back to them, and was very impressed with what he saw. So then he reached out to my coach, and I got in contact with him. That with him saying that he wanted to start the recruiting process with me.
In this whole deal, how important was it for South Carolina and for G.A. Mangus that he made that first contact so early and kind of got a jump with you, maybe in comparison with some of the other schools?
Well, it was definitely very important to me. He was one of the first coaches to see my potential and to really believe in what I could do and to offer me. So it made a big impression on me. And he stayed true to that throughout the whole recruiting process. I was the only quarterback he offered, which is something that he said he would do from the beginning. His truthfulness really, really impacted me, and it's a big part of my decision to go to South Carolina.
Talking with Brandon McElwain, quarterback out of Council Rock North High School, Newtown, Pennsylvania, officially committing to South Carolina today. But you had made your decision going back, maybe a week, 10 days ago, if not sooner?
Yes, about a week 2 or 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. So did you tell anybody at South Carolina prior to the day? Did Coach Mangus know? Did you just keep this to yourself until you put it out on Twitter?
Yes, I told Coach Mangus about a week ago.
No wonder he's been walking around with a smile on his face.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
What was his reaction when you finally gave him the word that, after all the effort that he put into it, that he had won this particular recruiting battle?
He was extremely happy. The first thing that he said is, "You're the man." He was excited that I was ready to get it started and to commit to South Carolina. And then also he was happy that I was doing it before the Army All-American Combine, because I want to start reaching out to players during this combine and starting to get other players interested in South Carolina as well, and hopefully get some more great athletes and great players to come play with me in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. You know, some players like to kind of sneak under the radar with low expectations, and everybody's just awed. They say, well, this guy's really good. You're pretty much coming in with a brass band, so you won't have that aspect about sneaking under the radar. As your parents or the USC or your high school coaching staff talk to you yet about how do you handle fans' expectations and how level-headed are you do you think to handle those expectations?
Yes, they've talked to me about this thing throughout everything, starting at the beginning of my recruiting. My parents, my family, and my coaches have been very influential to me and have helped me through everything, keeping me level-headed. And I know that they'll keep doing that. I have talked to my coaches about what it's going to be like at the next level, and my family what it's going to be like at the next level. I know it's going to be different. But I also know the coaches at South Carolina are no doubt going to have me prepared for that. Coach Spurrier is such an amazing coach. He's been coaching for a long time at a very high level, so I know him and Coach Mangus will definitely have me prepared for everything that I need to be prepared for.
Talking with Brandon McElwain, quarterback, committing to South Carolina publicly today. And you mentioned Spurrier and the fact that he is a veteran coach, and you follow South Carolina. You know what's going on around here. I'm sure you know the things that came up in December about how long he's going to coach. First he said 2 or 3 more years. Now he said he's back to the 4 or 5 year plan. What can you tell us about your conversations with him, what he's promised you about his coaching future, if any promises from him were made to you about how long he'll be at South Carolina?
To me, it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. I haven't had any promises or anything like that, but he loves coaching, and he's such a great coach, and my goal is to push South Carolina and the team to the next level, to SEC championship and national championship, so he won't want to leave. So I'm not as much worried about exactly what he said in the meeting, because he has said he'll be there for 4 or 5 more years. So that'll be about through my tenure there. But I believe if we get South Carolina to where the goal really is, through recruiting and through working hard and doing all the extra things in the film room and on the practice field, I know we can bring South Carolina to SEC championship and national championship, and I doubt Coach Spurrier is going to want to leave anytime soon.
Well, winning makes him happy, and having a chance to win championships certainly will, I think, light his fire and make him want to continue to coach for years down the road. One last thing, we'll let you go. You see yourself as a Connor Shaw type of quarterback, runner, thrower, better in one aspect over the other, you think?
I'm definitely a passer first. That's what I do. I'm a quarterback, and I love to throw the ball. But I think when the feet come into play and when the running comes into play is being able to keep a play going and extend the play to be able to allow the receivers a couple extra seconds to get open. And that's a lot of times when big plays happen, because the receivers are so athletic and so dynamic that a cornerback can't cover them for 5, 6 seconds down the field, and then they end up slipping free, and all I have to do is get them the ball so they can make a play. And that's what Connor Shaw did. He did a great job of. He didn't force the ball, and he created things with his feet and allowed plays to carry on for just a few more seconds so that his receivers like Ace Sanders and Bruce Armstrong could get open and make big plays.
Brandon, again, our congratulations, man. Have a great new year and a great off season. Look forward to following you in your senior year of high school. Back in a moment. Thanks again to Brandon McElwain for joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. 61205 this season, 2,100 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 1,100 rushing yards, 20 touchdowns as a sophomore, 1,446 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 594 rushing yards, and 10 touchdowns. So in 2 seasons, he has accounted for 28, 38, 38, 11, carrying him on 149, 59 touchdowns in his sophomore and junior seasons. Not sure what he did as a freshman, but I'm sure it's quite good. So, Pro, if you're South Carolina now, you've got your quarterback of the future. You've got one coming in this year's class in Lorenzo Nunez, who's also a multi-skilled athlete, runner, thrower. Some compare him to a Connor Shaw type quarterback as well. Let's face it, moving forward, with the exception of Dylan Thompson, who was, excellent in his own way this 1 year, but future Gamecock quarterbacks will be compared to Connor Shaw, just like future Clemson quarterbacks will be compared to Taj Boyd and to Deshaun Watson. So Clemson got their quarterback of the future in Deshaun Watson, and they have some younger quarterbacks coming in this class. They've already got one committed for 2016. South Carolina's got theirs now. They've got to feel very good about that. And the quality of this kid, both as a person and as a player, should really aid them in attracting, especially on the offensive side, other skilled, highly skilled players to play with him.
Yeah, it's interesting. As we were talking years ago when Spurrier was in his third or fourth year, that I thought basically a light came on in his mind that because of the speed of the game had changed and a lot of people going to the spread, I think the utilization of Savell Newton opened his mind about what a quarterback can do if he can run, especially in converting on third down, because the rush has to be very careful and controlled because they can always almost run and get the first down, which is what Savell Newton did. And then Connor Shaw did it as well. Now I feel the real work begins because they're going to have to recruit some big horses to protect their quarterback, because the quarterback can't do a thing if he's lying on his back. So now we will see South Carolina, I think, really push the button in the next couple of years of really replenishing that offensive line.
But then again, you're right. You got to have the horses up front. But if you have the quarterback with the escapability that this kid has and like Shaw has, that reduces the amount of pressure you're putting on your offensive lineman to protect.
That's true.
You just asked him to kind of get in the way, give the quarterback a chance, and, if things start to break down, he'll have the ability to kind of run to the open area and make something out of nothing. So this is a huge day for South Carolina football moving forward, because they feel like they've gotten the quarterback that can lead them in the future. When South Carolina got Connor Shaw, there wasn't all that hullabaloo about it. Solid quarterback, coach's son, etc. But, what can he do? But you saw very early when he played against Auburn, when Garcia was having his problems, that he moved the team, didn't get him in the end zone, but he moved him twice in that loss at Auburn his freshman year. We continue with the football talk here on Sports Talk Live. This is a live program. No tape delay tonight. No national talking heads to jump in while the hosts are out relaxing and sitting by the pool and sipping champagne. No, we're in here working. We're in the Sports Talk sweat box tonight because that's what we do here on Sports Talk. We work to the bitter end of the year.
Oh, is that what we do?
Is what we do? Well, some of us do. K-Mac's not here. But actually, K-Mac has an excuse. He had to go visit with his family somewhere out of state. So
you got to.
Corn's here. The pro is here. The state man, Graham Pope, is here. We welcome in another member of the Sports Talk family. We were hoping to have the M&M boys together tonight. Actually, I had told them last night I blew that because of our coverage of the Clemson bowl game in Orlando. We got kind of thrown off track. And Will couldn't be with us tonight. Hopefully we'll get him tomorrow night or Friday. But we do have Corey Miller, the pastor of Payne, former Gamecock great, former NFL standout, and now basically known as the father of Christian Miller with Alabama. In fact, Pastor, you are down in New Orleans getting ready for the bowl game?
Yes, guys, I'm here in New Orleans. Matter of fact, at the team hotel, and I had a great afternoon, a family event. Took us out on the steamboat in Natchez and cruise around with the other family members. So, yeah, man, it's nice to be here and not, be the sports guy, the media guy, but be a dad, and looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get to that, let's catch up with you and your thoughts on the Gamecock and what they did in their bowl game Saturday, the win over Miami. Just your overall take on that performance.
I thought it was a great performance. Miami, I thought, was a good matchup for South Carolina. Of course, Duke Johnson, highly respected football player. I thought, besides Todd Gurley, would be the best running back South Carolina faced all year. Of course, he had success running the ball, but I thought, they were opportunistic, made plays defensively, much better than what we've seen in the past. I was impressed that they've improved. Lorenzo Ward have kept guys together and motivating these guys to continue to play well despite a lot of the scrutiny and the talk about coaching changes and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really good, the fact that they really came to a game like this where they could have quit and had given up, and and they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Spurrier had his team ready to go, and they played well and got a win. And listen, Miami, 6-6 record or 6-7 now, but this team has talent on it, and the fact that South Carolina went there and won that game in Shreveport, I thought was very impressive.
When you looked at the defense, especially the play of the defensive front, what did you see different than what you saw in the regular season? Did you see much difference with the defensive front compared to what you saw in the regular season?
I feel they were more active. I really did. I thought they moved around very nicely. And that was a play call and by design, if you will. And but those guys got a lot of penetration, and I like that. Those guys not going to be a two-gap type of player. They're not going to defeat blocks. Just that one-on-one type of deal. You got to move those guys. You got to penetrate. Now, you hear me talk about stunning and that type of thing. So I thought it was very active up front. Made some plays and got in the face of the quarterback. And you like that. And that's what you got to do. And I was shocked that we didn't see a whole lot more of that during the course of the season because you don't have that clowny guy. You don't have a Chaz Sutton or, Kelsey Cole that can defeat a one-on-one block. You got guys that are just kind of status quo. But they play well. They played inspired football, and, defense is a lot. That's what it's all about, having the will to win and not to give up, not to quit. And I thought those guys played really highly motivated.
Corey, we talk about schemes a lot and of course, personnel or lack thereof. And a lot of times we forget that this game is played by humans, and a lot has to do with mindset and what's in the fire in the belly. And I thought before this game, South Carolina had a chance to win if they have what I call the defensive backs have, and that's called selective amnesia. If somebody pulls a big play on you, you just say, next play, stop them, next play. And I thought they showed that attitude better than any time I saw toward the end of the season, especially at Florida. I thought they showed that attitude too, is that, no matter what happened in the previous play, don't hang your head because then you're going to give up another big play. And they didn't do that last Saturday.
Absolutely. I talk about it like a golfer. You hit the best shot. You got to be able to forget that shot and line up over the golf ball and strike it again. with the mindset of winning and being successful. And I think you're absolutely right, Pro, that did just that. And here's another thing, guys. I thought that they grew up. And, we can talk the size of the bowl, the magnitude of the bowl games, but what's important is the practices. Those 15 or so practices that you get a chance, to grow up, get some more work. And I thought those young secondary guys, the young defensive line guys, the ability to get that work in helped them. And I think now as we get to the end of the season and go to a bowl game, guys, you kind of mature, you grow up. Now you're talking about basically you're a sophomore now, you're a redshirt freshman now, or whatever the case may be. And I think that helped South Carolina. It was huge for them to get that sixth win of the season, just because you get more practice, you get a chance to work against a one-on-one against guys, and I think that was very helpful in this bowl game.
Talking with the pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, who's in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl with, of course, his son with the Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the national semifinal games tomorrow. We'll talk about that in just a couple of moments. So, good feeling win for South Carolina. Spurrier was very happy. Defense played better, showed some improvement. He continues to sort of play a waiting game, perhaps, in making any decisions about his defensive staff. Do you think still changes need to be made on the defensive staff, or was that victory in the bowl game enough of a Band-Aid on the wound of the defensive year to give these guys an opportunity to continue to recruit and develop the players that they do have?
Phil, I think, you're going to be the same at defensive coordinator. I don't think Lorenzo Ward's going anywhere. Who's out there better now? I think that's a question Steve Spurrier would ask. But I do think, at some of the positions, I'm not going to name names, but I think there have to be some changes, because when you look at the developmental situation of these players, I was very disappointed, if you will, how some of these guys developed over the course of the season. And I think you have to make some changes. I think the fans, as bad as they were, we could, I'm impressed how they played against Miami, but I still haven't forgotten, the other 12 or so games that they played that was pretty much future. And a lot of these guys did not play well. But so you have to make some changes. I don't know what those changes are going to be, but I will be shocked if that entire defensive staff is back. I think right now they're evaluating, and I think we're going to look at the whole season, not getting caught up into that last ball game, but look at the overall production of this defense and the coaches and say, hey, will we be better off in a different direction? And I think you got to look at some of those key positions, defensive line being one of them. The linebackers weren't as good as they were. I didn't think they were better this year. I think they took a step backwards. So I think you have to look at that and say, hey, did these coaches develop these players enough for us to be successful in the SEC? And if you would ask me that right now, I would say still no. I think there need to be some changes from a position standpoint.
All right, hang on a second, Pastor. I want to get back to you and talk a little more about Alabama and what's happening there, a little bit more about the Gamecocks, visiting with the pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, former Gamecock great. Back to him in a moment. A couple of things I want to pass along. First of all, the rumors out there about Ed Golson transferring out of Notre Dame and possibly landing at South Carolina. Some are spinning out there. Did some checking on that today, talked with a source pretty close to him, tells me that Everett's made no decision at this time to leave Notre Dame. But there are schools out there who know his situation, realize that he is going to be in a position to transfer without penalty and play 1 year. And that is something that is a possibility. And there are several schools that have been trying to get through to him and let him know that they have a spot for him to come in and be a one-and-done player for them at quarterback. But he hasn't made a decision yet if he's going to leave Notre Dame. So that's still really putting the cart before the horse there. John Chavis leaving LSU as defensive coordinator to go to Texas A&M. This is now apparently pretty much done, being reported today.
Dillon native.
And Randy Shannon going to the University of Florida from Arkansas to be the linebackers coach. And we're back at Sports Talk New Year's Eve edition, live from downtown Columbia. Appreciate you being with us tonight. I know you're heading out and about and doing crazy things. Please be careful. Let's get 2015 off on the right foot. Don't use a lead foot when you're driving, and don't be driving if you are a little bit buzzing or intoxicated. Certainly if you're intoxicated, certainly even if you're buzzing, don't get behind that wheel. That would be a terrible, terrible mistake. Let's go back into the program. The pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, in New Orleans. All right, so how many times you've walked up and down Bourbon Street since you've been there? That's a proper segue considering what I was just talking about.
I drove actually down Bourbon Street today, me and my wife, and it's a madhouse. And I'm not the kind that want to get into that hustle and bustle. So we drove down just kind of take a look at it and got on a little cruise around the Mississippi today. That was very nice. And of course, we came back to the team hotel, and now we're done for the night. We'll do everything right here, watch some football, and spend some time with Christian and a little bit some dinner and bring the new year that way.
All right, let me ask you again about the Gamecocks looking forward. Of course, you heard the news that McElwain committed, but he won't be there until 2016. So looking to next year, you got these defensive players returning. I mean, they're really not losing a truly critical defensive player, maybe JT Surratt, but outside of that, they're not losing a critical defensive player. All those young guys have a year of experience. Wesley Green will join the fun in the secondary next season. But offensively, you got to find a quarterback. And so what do you foresee today for South Carolina 2015-wise? Do they recover from 6-6 and make some progress, or do they take a step back?
I think, one of the most intriguing things that we're going to be talking about, Phil, this offseason, what to expect from this football team. You got a quarterback situation. You don't know what to expect. Connor Mitch, I know, came in with a lot of accolades, and a lot of folks think he's going to be a great player, but we don't know. Garnecchia, the kid from Florida, Swear talks about him. We don't know what's going to happen with that position. Mike Davis is out. Brendan Wiles, it'll be his team. You got good running backs. You got tight ends. You got receivers. So that's the biggest question to me. As far as the defense, they're going to get some linemen in. You got the number one JUCO defensive end coming to you. So you're getting those bigger body defensive ends that can play every down. I think that potentially could help them, get some pass rush. You got to get pass rush. I don't care what talent you have in the back end. If you don't have a pass rush, you don't have pass coverage. And so they have to focus on that. If you would ask me right now, what would my prognostication be as far as what I see? I still see a 6-7 win football team. I can't see past that until we see in the spring who's going to step up and make some plays. You got LSU on the schedule. The schedule's not going to get any easier. Tennessee's going to be better. I would think Florida's going to be much better, so the East's going to get tougher. This team has so many question marks. I don't know. I still think right now, I look at this team as a 6-7 win team. I still think they're a couple of years away from getting back to that double-digit type of win season.
All right, let me ask you quickly before we lose you about Alabama and the mood around Nick Saban and the Alabama camp going into the semifinals tomorrow.
Very businesslike, very quiet, not saying too much. From what I've thought of the players, they're very focused. They're hungry. They didn't like what happened last year. Coach Sugar Bowl has not been nice for them. Losing last year to Oklahoma, and then, of course, Boise, I think they lost. Utah, they lost in Sugar Bowl. So they're businesslike. They're ready to roll. They know Ohio State's a team that hasn't been here in a while. They're trying to build that reputation back. So I expect them to play well tomorrow, but you never know in these types of games. Bowl games, for one, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Who are your picks in the semifinals? Who do you see advancing to the championship game?
Right now, I think Alabama and Oregon, and I think people are going to see that high-powered, fast-paced offense against, Nick Saban type of defense. If he can stop it, Kirby Smart and those guys, I would like to see that. So I think, from what I hear down here, they want to shut up the critics about cannot stop that type of offense, and I know they would love to see that matchup. And of course, I would love to see it too, because my next trip will be in Jerry's world.
Yeah, you just want to trip. You just want to trip out to Dallas. Is all you want to.
Hey, you said it. I'm riding the coattail of my seed. My young son right now. So thank the Lord for that, and it's been great. So, and I appreciate you guys. 2014 has been a great year. Appreciate y'all having us, and I know we expected a great 2015. I pray y'all have a blessed afternoon, and a wonderful, wonderful 2015.
Well, you too. We cherish our friendship with you, and thank you so much for being a part of our football season. And, man, we wish you the best of luck on television in Columbia. Hope your career continues to explode there. And we'll be back together with you in 2015.
No doubt about it, guys. Happy New Year's, everybody.
You too, my man.
All right.
Take care. All right. That's the pastor of Payne. In France, they call him Pasteur de Payneau. A little French there. Corey Miller with his son down in New Orleans. And if they make it to the championship game, of course, we'll dial him back up and have him with us from the site over there in Dallas.
Dallas, or wherever it
Fort
is.
Worth.
Dallas so spread out.
Yeah, I was just there. We'll be right back. Once again, thanks to the pastor of Payne for being with us. Love that guy. Appreciate him being with us here on Sports Talk. Catch you up on a couple of things. First of all, again, in recruiting, if you just tuning in, haven't heard the news, didn't hear our interview with him, Brandon McIlvain from up in Pennsylvania committing to, did I say McIlwain? Brandon McIlwain committing to South Carolina today, quarterback out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. We'll have the interview up on the website here in a little bit. If you missed it earlier, you can go back and check it out later on. Also want to mention this too, and we'll have a story up on the website on this player here later on, if not tonight, tomorrow. Maurice Smitherman, defensive back from out of Alabama down in the Mobile area, is going to take an official visit to USC. Right now he's saying he thinks it's going to be January 30th. After Mark Fields decommitted from USC, the Gamecocks reached out to Smitherman, who's been committed to Mississippi State, but now he's like 50-50, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and he'll visit South Carolina in January. He's already taken his official visit to Mississippi State. Some other schools are also getting in touch with him as well, so he could be the answer for South Carolina if they don't get Mark Fields back into the fold. A couple of other things to pass along. First of all, in football today, bowl games continue. And earlier today in Atlanta, boy, what a massacre this was, as Ole Miss, I guess they just didn't want to be there. 42-3 TCU takes it out on Ole Miss.
Actually, the Eve was they misspelled. It was OLD. Old Miss,
boy,
because they look terrible.
Yeah,
they look terrible.
Mississippi State and Georgia Tech coming up tonight. Right now, Boise is leading Arizona 31-20. That's in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, tomorrow at noon, you've got Auburn and Wisconsin. And at 12:30, you've got Michigan State and Baylor. Then you've got Missouri and Minnesota. And then at 5 o'clock, the first semi game, Florida State, Oregon. And then the second one, Ohio State, Alabama. Then moving forward on Friday, Houston and Pittsburgh. These are the bowl games we've all been waiting on. Houston and Pittsburgh, then Iowa, Tennessee, then Kansas State, UCLA, then Washington and Oklahoma State. On and on it goes. Then East Carolina and Florida on Saturday. And finally, Toledo and Arkansas State on Sunday to set the stage for the last game, which will be the national championship
Well,
game.
all these playoff games, I'm just waiting to see if there's a player that can top what Nick Chubb did last night. Because he's still running touchdowns in the Bank of America Stadium.
College basketball today. Wofford played Duke pretty close for a half, 7-point game at Cameron at a half, but Duke pulled away second half 84-55. Villanova beat Butler 67-55. Wisconsin over Penn State 89-72. Seton Hall upsets St. John 78-67. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Well, make it 37-20 Boise. I guess Arizona didn't want to be in the Fiesta Bowl.
No, they wanted to be here.
I mean, that's the excuse everybody makes now when a team loses in a bowl game by a wide margin. They didn't care. They didn't want to be there. They didn't play.
It depends. Yeah. It depends. A reason for everything. And
that reason would be?
And when you saw Alabama in 2 Sugar Bowls when they weren't in the championship running, you could tell they weren't there.
Then just stay home. Then just stay home.
No,
stay home.
You get paid. You get paid too much money to be there.
Well, I mean, but why embarrass yourself? Why waste everybody's time if you're not interested in being there and you're going to play that way?
You could tell Rich Rodriguez is interested. No, the thing is, Arizona had chances to come back in this football game, and they had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns, and that kept them behind the 8 ball.
Just saw a story that this is what's going to happen. Story that they're expecting empty seats for the Rose Bowl because of the fact now that there is the national playoff, and the Rose Bowl is not part of the semifinals this year, and they will be in the future, but this time around they're not, and thus they're expecting that there will be well, I guess I take that back. They are the semifinal this time. They are having problems apparently selling tickets in the Rose Bowl. That's what I'm trying to get to for Oregon and Florida State this time around, because, and I don't know why the national playoff setting is impacting it this way, but
Well, I think
I just saw a story that said there are going to be empty seats.
Well,
let me see if I can find that story.
Well, let me tell you why. A few reasons. First of all, and State Man just hit it. It's one more game. Florida State people sitting there, we can beat Oregon. We'll save our money, and we're buying tickets to Jerry's World already. We'll bypass. We went to the Rose Bowl last year and won the title. I don't want to go back to that dank Rose Bowl this year. Let's go to Jerry's house. That's one of the reasons.
Florida State returned 2,000 of its allotment, 12,500, according to the Rose Bowl. Earlier this week, there were approximately 5,000 tickets overall left on StubHub alone, several of them under face value. By this afternoon, there are approximately 2,800 seats left. Of course, that's not bad. I mean, you're talking about a couple of thousand maybe out of a 92,000 seat stadium. I mean, you want to see every seat filled, but you're probably right. Some folks are saying, I'm going to save my money and my time and effort for the next game.
I tell you what would have filled the seats, and people think I'm stupid, but that's why I wanted to see the different matchup. I wanted to see Jameis Winston play his home state school, Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. And Ohio State, those people love to go out to the Rose Bowl because that was synonymous with winning the Big Ten title. They would have flocked to so I thought they switched the matchups badly.
Well, but part of the rules is that the highest seeded team gets to play closest to home, and that's what forced it to be played out this way. We haven't even pitched for phone calls tonight, but if you are lonely on this New Year's Eve and you feel like you need to talk to somebody, we are here. Pro and Corn and Steakman, 800-956-7266. You might as well join us since we are here live from downtown Columbia, where it's hopping out there. It's year's Rocking Eve on Main Street in downtown Columbia. New York City ain't got nothing on Columbia. L.A. ain't got nothing on Columbia.
Okay. Well,
Vegas ain't got nothing on Columbia when it comes to rocking in the new year. Steakman, what are you doing for the new year? How are you celebrating your New Year's
Nothing
Eve?
special at all. I will just take it easy.
No fish concert, no fish, no.
No, sadly, no fish. That's where I'd like to be in Miami doing 4 nights of fish, but I'm not.
Is that where they're in Miami this weekend?
Correct. Normally they do MSG every year, but this year it'll be Miami.
For 4 nights, huh?
Glutamate.
4 nights. What are you doing later tonight?
I'm sleeping.
That's it?
Yeah, I got to get up in the morning.
I mean, you're going to sleep. I mean, you'll be asleep when the new year turns?
I have the only New Year's ball I've seen drop in the last 20 years when the New Year's on a weekend. Other than that, I'm in the bed. I've been wake me up when 2015 turns around.
Yeah, I got a dinner party to go to after I leave here. Got to force down a bunch of good food and beverage to lead into the new year.
And then,
but I could very well be asleep by the time the new year gets here. The way I feel right now, I'm about to drop as it is. All right, 800-956-7266. We do wish everybody a happy new year. Looking forward to being with you in 2015. We're going to have a great year in 2015. We will be live tomorrow night. There is football tomorrow night, right? There's live football, so we'll be live.
I won't be here.
Are you not going to be here tomorrow night?
No, I'm not going to be here
tomorrow okay. Night. Well, I'll be here tomorrow.
Okay.
Stateman, you'll be here, won't you?
Sadly, I will be here, yes.
Sadly.
All right. I'm not sure if K-Mac's with us. I don't think he's with us tomorrow night. I'll be here tomorrow night to share the new year with you. But we're looking forward to a great 2015 here on Sports Talk. A lot of great plans and a lot of excitement about what we're going to do in 2015. As every year we try to do something a little bit different and do something a little bit better, and we'll try and do that in the year ahead.
And people, please wake up from the doldrums. Okay, I know you got football recruiting, you got the trash talk after the football seasons. The worry warts want to see what happens as far as coaching staffs are concerned. But would you please open your eyes and see the burgeoning of a basketball team here in Columbia at South Carolina and Clemson going into what I think is the toughest schedule ever in Clemson history. Yeah. And the USC women starting off the new year at #1. I mean, there's a lot of basketball stories out there yet to be told.
Absolutely.
And you're missing it if you don't. You have to learn to multitask, follow the football recruiting, follow the coaching, and follow basketball.
Yeah, excellent point. I was at USC game last night. We're here from Frank Martin and also from Brad Brownell. Clemson opens ACC play Saturday night, 8:15 against North Carolina. That's a brutal stretch to open ACC play, but you know what? You got them sooner or later. Might as well take them off the top and see what you can do.
To Louisville and Pittsburgh? And
they'll be Louisville's first home ACC opponent. Welcome. And, of course, USC has a big one with Iowa State in Brooklyn, a great chance for the Gamecocks to nab a win over a quality opponent if they can win the game. There's no guarantee they're going to win. But during this 6-game winning streak the Gamecocks are on right now, their average winning margin, 21 points. So not only are they beating people, they're stomping people.
You get the feeling that the real win, if they win or lose this game Saturday, or if they just look good against the 9th-ranked team in the country, the fruits of this labor may be seen down the road as far as Frank Martin and his recruiting contacts in the greater New York area. That's going to be the key.
We shall see. Let's get to some phone calls here for a couple of minutes, and it's Jeff in Greenwood. Welcome into Sports Talk, Jeff. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys, too. I hope y'all have a great one in 2015 of a good year for you guys and your show and everything else.
Thank you.
I'm a Georgia grad and watched the game last night and don't think we missed a beat without Todd Gurley with Chubb in there. He the 4th highest rushing total ever in the season by any Georgia player, and the only one ahead of him is Herschel Walker with 3 in a row. Just want to get you guys. I know you guys cover Carolina and Clemson mostly, but just your ideas about Georgia next year. And we seem to always get in our way in a game or two, like the Florida game, and make a bonehead play or two against Carolina that cost us also. And the Tech game speaks for itself about stupidity. But sometimes we play great, like we did against Auburn, and we're up and down. So. You think it'll be like another 9-3, 8-4, 10-2 year for us next year? What do y'all see for us?
Let me ask you this before we get to that. Why are there rumors out there about Mark Richt leaving Georgia? You being a Georgia fan, are you hearing those rumors? Do you think there's anything to that?
No, I don't think there's anything to that. I think he's going to be there. It's recruiting season now, and it'd be chaos if he left right now. I think that would have already happened.
All right. So moving forward, I'm assuming Bryce Ramsey gets the first shot at starting quarterback. So you're going to be going with a young guy with very little experience, but you got a great situation at running back. You got Chubb, you got Michelle. So you just turn and give the ball to those guys, and you're going to be okay on offense. And I remember Ramsey has a reputation for being a terrific passer. So, but he's going to be young and inexperienced, and that may be something you're going to have to overcome early in the season.
Yeah. I think it's probably going to be pretty much like it is. I don't think much is going to change with Bobo gone. I think it's going to be we'll probably stub our toe, get somebody like we always do, and always not live up to our expectations.
Well, the key point is, and I was talking about lowered expectations and the fact that, if anything, the last couple of years, we've seen South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, wrestling, who's going to win the East, who's going to win the East, and Missouri is standing there on the corner just like in a lumberjack match in wrestling and waiting to watch everybody else throw each other out of the ring, and then they're the ones standing there with the victory. So I think probably low expectations at Georgia early may be a good thing as far as that's concerned.
You're probably right. Missouri has taken advantage of it, haven't they?
I think Georgia is, they're just going to be Georgia. They're going to be good enough to be right there in the last month of the season to have a chance to win. You're probably right. They're going to lose to somebody. Nobody is going to go through the SEC undefeated, outside of, well, not even Alabama can do it. Nobody's going to run the table in the SEC. There's too much parity. So I don't see that happening. But Georgia's got to replace some guys on defense. We talked about what they've got to do on offense, but they're going to be right there once again. I think Mark Richt, I know some Georgia fans don't want to hear this, but I think Mark Richt is an excellent coach. He runs an excellent program. Now, I know they have issues sometimes with some off-the-field stuff. I don't know why that's happening around Athens. Maybe there's just too much there for players to get involved with, to get in trouble. I don't know. Maybe it's some of the people they've recruited. But I don't think you can find a finer person in terms of his personality than Mark Richt and a quality guy to run your football program. And he churns out highly competitive, successful teams year after year. Now, is he winning SEC championships on a regular basis? No. Has he won one? Yes. Did he come very close a couple of years ago against Alabama? Yes.
I'm going to go old school on you and tell you who exactly he reminds me of. Other than the fact that the other guy dressed better, he reminds me of Tom Landry. Landry would set a fire on your behind when he wanted to, but it was at his beck and call. He wasn't going to be demonstrative on the sideline so the cameras could catch it.
Yeah, I always have a hard time understanding Georgia fans. You know, you get spoiled, I guess, and your expectations are sometimes set to a point that's beyond reality. I think Mark Richt is an excellent coach, always has a good staff, always recruits well. Outside of some of the issues that they've had off the field, he's run an extremely clean program. And, you talk about next year for Georgia, and let's see. They open up against Louisiana Monroe, so they're 1-0. They go to Vanderbilt, 2-0. South Carolina at home, I'd pick Georgia, 3-0. Southern at home, 4-0. Alabama in Athens, 4-1. Tennessee in Knoxville. Maybe that's the game that they surprise, 5-1. Missouri in Athens, 6-1. Florida in Jacksonville, 7-1. Kentucky at home, 8-1. Auburn on the road, 8-2. Georgia Southern, 9-2. Georgia Tech. And they're looking at a 9 or 10 win season again next year. I'm putting a lot on Bryce Ramsey, but again, he's got those running backs, and I didn't mention Marshall coming back from his injury if he's able to. They're going to be right there again, 8, 9, 10 win team, maybe more. Back to the phones, and we go to Billy in Florence. Hi, Billy. Welcome in. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you guys. I was waiting on the wife. What parents have got the kids, and the wife and I is going to go to some dinner and a little social event. Phil,
kids are taken care of. Mom and Dad going to get busy.
That's right, Phil. I was going to make a comment first. I had it, but I heard the Georgia fan, and yeah, you were exactly right. I can actually compare Rick to Tommy Bowden. He's always the best. He's always got the best 9-3 record in the nation with the most talented team, and I like Mark Rick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really do. I think he runs a class program, and he's got stipulations, and he doesn't have gray areas, if you know what I mean, especially being the SEC ultra competitive like he is. But I like Rick. Speaking of SEC, Phil, this is just one thing that kills me, and I heard you earlier when I was coming in from work and so forth, but SEC kills me. The West is supposed to – we know the East is average at best, just average. I mean, let's face it, they've had down seasons, Florida's woes, Georgia's, unfortunate loss to Georgia Tech, and a couple here and there hiccups like they typically do, and then South Carolina, and anyway, on and on. And the West is supposed to be the NFC West. Well, Mississippi had the best defense in the SEC as far as forcing turnovers or some statistic, and was highly ranked. Well, they got blasted. Well, average Notre Dame team, and that is exactly what Notre Dame is because Golston's thinking about transferring. They beat LSU, which actually shook my bowl pool up. I was a little stunned with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the typical thing is they didn't want to be there, correct?
That's what everybody says. Hang on, we'll come back to you in just a moment. Got to hit this break and let you finish your comments. But, yeah, that's what they say when you get blown out. Didn't want to be there. All right, Boise trying to hang on against Arizona, 38-27 Fiesta Bowl, fourth quarter, about, what's that, 6 minutes to go, more or less. Rich Rod trying to get a win out there. Let's go back to our phones, going back to Billy in Florence for a couple more minutes, and Frank Martin is coming up here on Sports Talk. All right, so Billy, go right ahead. I know where you're getting at here. You're saying, based on some of these performances from teams in the West, not all that big a deal.
Yeah, that's right. And Phil, let me get something straight here. By all means, the SEC from top to bottom is the most competitive conference. You lose my football credibility if you try to tell me otherwise. There's no doubt. But my point I'm trying to make is, when I call and speak with you guys, I'm a diehard Clemson guy, and I defend the conference. But the shot that's always taken at the ACC, and it kills me about SEC fans, is Mississippi State, Mississippi was in the top 5. Mississippi State was number 1. I don't know, exactly 3 or 4 weeks. They all bought into this top-heavy SEC West being in here, considering it the greatest conference ever, or whatever. But the point is you look at their non-conference, and Ole Miss and Mississippi State play UT Martin, UAB, which has eliminated their program, and and Clemson and Florida State, they step out, and they always want to say that the ACC play is just a kind of cupcake conference and so forth. Well, I'm gonna tell you, and you might agree with me, or you might not. The ACC has taken a couple steps forward, and they, for whatever it's worth, the bowl. I think they're 3-5 now or something. I mean, whatever. I mean, that's fine. I mean, sometimes you get a matchup.
Billy, one of the things is once the ogre is built, you're not going to get rid of it. For instance, let's switch it the other way. Southeastern Conference had 2 teams in the Final Four last year. Does the SEC get any credit for basketball?
No, because Kentucky. Because Kentucky's not SEC basketball. Kentucky's Kentucky basketball.
That's NBA basketball.
Whatever you want to call it. But it's, they're just like Florida State is not.
But the message I'm saying
ACC football.
The message I'm saying is I think
Florida State football.
I think
same with Clemson.
ACC has an exceptional football conference. It really does, especially, and I thought Louisville was a tremendous addition. And watch out what you wish for, Billy, because Louisville –
yeah,
that's going to be a headache for Clemson. With Bobby Petrino is there, so this conference is getting tougher.
You got to go up there next year.
You could tell. So the ACC doesn't have to take a back seat to any conference in the country. That includes the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
Billy, want to wish you a happy New Year. Thank you so much for calling. Look forward to talking to you next year. That's right. Everything we do after the next 23 minutes will be next year here on Sports Talk. Yeah. So you don't sip any champagne or a alcoholic beverage to welcome in the new year?
When I take
a fine wine, maybe some cognac that's been sitting in a wooden. No.
Even when I take communion, now it's only grape juice.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yes, it counts. Yes.
It does count. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you for the calls. Basketball last night. South Carolina rolled over North Carolina A&T. That game was over from the opening for the most part. Cy Alexander, our good buddy, the coach at North Carolina A&T, could only watch and suffer through it. His team is now 2-13. Oof. Totally outmanned, of course. But you give South Carolina credit for going out, playing some pretty good basketball right now. As I said, 6-game winning streak, averaging a margin of victory, 21 points. So Frank Martin not only liked the win, he liked the way his players went about their business.
Real happy with how we played. I thought our mindset was real good in practice coming into the game, and I thought we went out and played the game the right way. We had some turnovers in the first half away from the ball. Those can't happen. We had turnovers where we were throwing it to guys, and guys, instead of just fending off with their bodies, they're grabbing the defender to try and keep the defender away. You can't have those turnovers. And I don't know why we had them. We haven't had them all year, but we had them today. But once again, 20 assists. That means you got guys playing through your structure, willing to make the extra pass. And then obviously you can make all the extra passes you want. Ball's got to go in the basket for an assist to register. And we got some guys that are making shots.
Frank, how pleasing is it for you to see the post game working so well, not just with one guy, but between catching us, chat, and all of them doing their part?
Well, it's a big part of what we try to do. If you remember correctly, we threw it in there a whole lot last year, but we wouldn't convert. And then at the end of the year, we started converting, and we started kind of get more from that. And that's a process that's continued to grow. And I'm real proud of Limonis. I've probably challenged Limonis as hard as any player I've ever coached. And his growth as a coach is fun to watch. You know, he still has to overcome when he gets tired. There's not another repetition left. When he gets tired, it's over. He's not going to change ends of the floor. We've got to get him to overcome that. He's worked too hard to get in shape. He's worked too hard to make himself a good player. He's got to figure out a way to overcome that so he can wait till the buzzer sounds to come out of the game. He can't check himself out and stay on the court. But him, you know, Demetrius is better. We're still not rebounding the ball well from Demetrius. He's got to get better there. He has shown flashes of doing that better. But he's got to be more consistent there. But all three of those guys, and Mike, little by little, we'll get him back involved in what we're doing. His energy's there, but he's completely lost. And in his defense, after missing a month, no practice, he's practiced 3 times. And we've got to get him reintegrated with what we're doing.
Coach, you had forced a couple turnovers early on in the game. Just talk about defensively what you were doing to force so many mistakes early on.
Yeah, that's the part. I tend to always have to run a lot of drills to teach our defense. These guys have so willing to accept our principles defensively that I don't have to drill them as much. We can do a lot more stuff 3-on-3 and 4-on-4. We don't have to do as many things 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 as I've had to do in my first 2 years here. So it's a little less taxing in practice on guys, and I'm okay with that. But they've got to perform at game time. That means they have to play through our principles when it's game time, or we got to go back to the basics, and then it becomes taxing in practice. And then you got guys that are tired in games, and that's the dynamic that as a coach you got to manage. Because they have, for us to be good, our players have to play through our disciplines. They can't play through their own disciplines. And right now they've bought in, and they've committed themselves to helping one another through our principles. And I'm having a real fun time. Not because we're winning. I enjoyed coaching you guys last year, and we weren't winning. Last year it was trying to deal with young guys that didn't understand and get them to create trust and build that partnership that you got to have. Well, we've built that. Now it's about getting them to grow within their responsibilities.
Yeah, we talk about the defensive line being the linchpin of a defense in football. I think the linchpin in college basketball, as far as defense is concerned, is making life uncomfortable for the other team's point guard. And right now, a lot of times, even though he's playing the off-guard position, defensively, Dwayne Notice is assigned to the other team's point guard. And he is right now sort of making life uncomfortable for the opposition's point guard. First of all, he's quick and he's strong.
Iowa State, the next opponent, they'll play them in Brooklyn on Saturday evening. Right now, Iowa State is playing Mississippi Valley State, known as the
Delta Devils.
The what?
Delta Devils.
Very good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't hear you because somebody broke in my headset. 38-14. Iowa State will be 10-1 when they play the Gamecocks in Brooklyn. Terrific opportunity to go out and grab a big RPI victory if you can get it. We'll hear from Brad Brownell in a moment.
The turnover bug is a problem. We have some careless turnovers.
All right, Clemson basketball Tigers, they picked up a win over Robert Morris last night, 64-57. Tigers went on a run to build a lead. Bob Morris fought back, made it a little bit interesting late. Tigers win at 64-57. And Jerron Blossom gave another good outing for him, 16 and 12. Dante Grantham, the freshman, 13 and 6. But it gets serious now because North Carolina's coming to town Saturday night. Here is Coach Brad Brownell, Tony Castricone, the voice of Tiger basketball from Learfield Sports, their conversation after the Tigers win last night.
The turnover bug is a problem. We have some careless turnovers that we've just got to get them cleaned up. I'm really disappointed in the way some of our guys just don't see enough things and try too many dangerous passes and don't trust each other enough. We allowed other teams to break out of our turnovers. We gave them fast break points in the second half to make it a game when really it should have been a 15 to 20 point win.
Well, you said not trust each other enough. Can you give an example or
just trusting in the offense and trying something too early in a possession that's it's a 75% chance pass. It's a post up to Landry Noko, and he doesn't have his numbers on the ball. He's got 3/4 post position. You can throw it to a one-handed catch. Don't make the pass. You don't need to make the pass. Reverse it and run offense. There's still 18 seconds on the shot clock, but we're just a little impatient and we try things that we don't need to try. And you can't beat really good teams turning the ball over 17 times. And we've done this in a couple games where we've had teams on the ropes and we we can't get out of our own way a little bit. Again, our defensive numbers were good. Our shooting percentage was good, 46%. We didn't shoot well from three. Dante had another tough night making threes. DeMarcus made three for us. It made us, build the big lead. But combining that with the 17 turnovers, it's hard to win by more than 7 or 8 points when you give teams that many opportunities. And we held them to 32% shooting, for goodness sake. Like we guarded their stuff great, but our offensive execution at times was a little problematic. And some of that's hard. It's you playing against 40 minutes of zone. It's there's a wearing effect there, and we hadn't done that in a while, so we had to get used to it.
When we talked in the pregame show, one of your goals was to have somebody contribute off the bench. You had 16 bench points in the first half, just 14 by the starters. And, Jordan Roper's been in a slump, but he did get 8 points for you in the first half.
He did. I thought he did some good things. I thought he had a couple of really good looks at threes, and one popped in and out on him. I thought if he made that, he was going to have a really, really big night early. Then he finally got a little pull-up to go. He made a three. Actually made a couple of good passes. Had one that was probably a sketchy one, like I'm talking about. But I thought he gave us some pretty good minutes. He's practiced better since Christmas. I thought he's had 3 good days of practice. I think Austin's even practiced a little bit better. I know his line wasn't as much tonight, but I thought he's practiced a little bit better. A nice hop step pull up into the lane and scored for us. That was good. It was disappointing. We had a hard time with Noko tonight getting ball into him for catches and scores. And, it's when they're playing us the way they do, I thought we had more opportunities to get him the ball, and he had a couple fumble out of his hands, and they walled him up once on a play that was close, and he needed to make it. And then he had one roll out on, we got to get a little more production out of that position when we're playing against teams that zone you and make it hard on you. I thought we got the ball to JB in a couple dunk spots really good behind the zone. That was something we'd been working on the last 3 days and thought we could do, and that proved to be very valuable for us.
Yeah, actually, you got 6 baskets out of that.
Yeah,
for the game.
There was one in the second half that was at an opportune time, and we just thought the way they played, there were some things behind them that we could get. They really did a better job, and I think one of their plans going in was to keep it out of the high post. They really pinched those guards up top. Rod's not a big shooter, so they kind of don't have to go all the way out on him, and pinched it away from the high. But we worked around it, went into the short corner behind him by posting Landry and working behind him, and so that was good.
All right, there you go. Tony Castricone, Tim Beret, and Brad Brownell talking after the game last night in which the Tigers were victorious. Now they get ready for North Carolina. The Tar Heels beat William and Mary last night, 86-64. They are now 10-3 on the season, and of course, loaded with all kinds of All-American players. They'll try to play at a fast pace, and they got big men who can shoot, small men that can rebound, and it's just a typical North Carolina team. It's going to be a huge challenge for the Tigers.
Brad Brownell will not have to worry about playing too much against the zone because Roy Williams does not utilize the zone that often. They go man-to-man.
Can Clemson make North Carolina play at its pace instead of the other way around? All right, it's 38-30, Boise State, 2:22 to go. Arizona's got the football, trying to get into the end zone for a chance to tie up the Fiesta Bowl. We've got the Orange Bowl still to come, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech.
Ooh, the option.
I think I picked Georgia Tech in our pick'em contest. I'm going to stay with them. I think Georgia Tech with that. Of course, now Mississippi State's it's one thing to have 3 days to get ready for these guys. It's a whole nother thing to have 3 weeks to get ready.
But it's also,
they've had plenty of time.
Yeah, there's also another thing for the intricate timing involved in that option, whether you've been rusty with it. Because we've seen many times teams run the option, get into bowl games or after a long layoff and leave it on the ground. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, we've wrapped things up for 2014. You know, we're not usually here on New Year's Eve. We're on the air, but we're usually dispensed somewhere at bowl games. This year, the way things worked out, both USC and Clemson played prior to New Year's Eve, so we're able to be here in our wonderful studios, Main Street in downtown Columbia. It's been very enjoyable. And, of course, you get nostalgic this time of the night on New Year's Eve. You start thinking about the great things in sports that we're able to witness throughout 2014, and we saw a lot of great stuff with our very eyes in 2014. Anything in particular stand out in your mind?
Not really.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the lead on that.
It's a lot of things that stand out in your mind. I mean, you could go back to anything in sport. We can go back to the Little League World Series, and you had the what was it?
Well, I'm talking about in South Carolina.
Oh, in South Carolina.
I'm talking about the state. I could care less about anything outside the borders.
Well, I think probably as far as the freshman quarterback at Clemson coming in and playing so well, just unfortunately he got injured, and that was a sad situation. I thought South Carolina, like Phoenix from the ashes, actually pulling that game out at Florida. Those two memories coming to my mind as far as South Carolina winning at Florida when it looked like they were really going down the tubes. And then Clemson with Deshaun Watson unleashed on the ACC, as you say.
Yeah, I'd have to say those are great moments, positive and negative. I mean, South Carolina's performance in its win over Georgia at home, the way that they kept fighting back and kept coming up with big offensive play after another, highlight for them. Even though they lost the game, the way Clemson went down and took it to Florida State. And had every opportunity to win that game in Tallahassee. That kind of stands out in my mind, too, even though it wasn't a win for them. It's the way the Tigers went down there and laid on the line.
And, of course, I guess a defining moment that's led into this season so far is when Frank Martin, inexplicably, South Carolina pulls off that upset against Kentucky at the end of the year.
And I won't forget the look on Steve Spurrier's face, his expression after losing that game to Tennessee, and how that affected him for weeks to come. Have a great New Year's. Be safe. We'll be back tomorrow night live here on Sports Talk. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, Steak Man. And for K-Mac, this is Corn. Happy New Year, everyone.